my mission was amazing. I mean, everybody will say that about their mission, that like the ability that we have to see people's lives change is incredible. Like to see it, like you get like first row seats to like the best show on earth, and it's incredible to see people's lives change. On my mission, I didn't have a baptism or what you would call, like, maybe people would say that that's not very like a big success, but I saw people like go from like point A to point B, and even though they didn't take that final step towards baptism, I knew that eventually, like, those people will accept the gospel, and I have faith that they will. And there was this one woman in my last area that she was one of the biggest blessings, not only in my life, but I felt like that we were a huge blessing in her life. She was going through an incredibly difficult time in her life with her husband and with her job, and she was trying to get a visa to go back to America to work. And she was this incredible woman who had this amazing faith in Jesus Christ, and she had believed in Jesus Christ her entire life. And whenever we met with her, we just felt his love for her so strongly. And we worked with this woman for 6 months. We met with her every single week. And just to see how her life changed, how she became happier, how she felt, I just saw that joy start coming into her face. And I remember my very last Sunday in the mission field, I was invited all my investigators to come to church. And that day, this sister, she came in for the very first time. She had family issues where she couldn't come to church because her brother was a pastor, and so she had to go to his church instead on Sundays. But my very last Sunday, I was singing in church and saying goodbye to the Lord, and surprisingly, I was very surprised when she walked into the chapel that morning, and I cried like after they all left and after the meeting was over, I turned to my companion and just broke down into tears. And I had never felt so much joy and so much happiness in one person coming to church before, and making that one small decision to come closer to Jesus Christ. And missionaries are still working with her, as far as I know. But I think that there are people on our missions. I mean, I taught quite a few people on my mission, and I felt like each person, even though they never quite made it to the level of baptism, even though I'm still praying that they will, that we still make a difference in their lives. That no matter what happens, no matter how hard you try, they still have their agency. I feel like that was the hardest thing for me on my mission. It was like, oh, people have their agency. Now I know how God must feel whenever I make stupid decisions. But I just loved being a part and seeing these people and seeing how they came closer to Jesus Christ. And I think through them coming closer to Jesus Christ, I came closer to Jesus Christ. And it just was the most, I would say every single week in my emails home that I'm the luckiest girl on the planet, because I get to be with these incredible Korean people and to help them and to love them. And that's all I feel towards them. It's just this huge amount of love towards Korea and towards the people. And I never thought when I started my mission that I would feel so much love and so much joy from serving these people, but it became that way, and it was the best thing ever. In my first area, whenever I had just become a junior companion, my trainer had just left, and we were teaching this man in the church, and he was probably 80 something, and he came to church one day and just showed up out of the blue. And we didn't really think he really had that much interest in the church. We didn't really know anything. My companion wasn't that much older than me in the mission, and she was also American. Well, she was Canadian, but she didn't speak Korean much better than I did. And we both kind of struggled. And we're just like, okay, well, we don't really know if this is what this man wants. And so we gave him a Book of Mormon and invited him to come back. And the next week he came back, and we were so surprised. And then we've started meeting with this brother starting that week. And then the next week we had set up an appointment with him right after church. We had also set up an appointment with another investigator right after church because we figured that one of them just wouldn't show up. But lucky us, both of them did. And so I remember I was in my 3rd month as a missionary, didn't speak Korean at all, and my senior companion turns to me and she's like, "You're going to go teach this 80-year-old man the first lesson." And I was like, "What? Are you serious?" And so I went and I did. I had my members, and I had an older gentleman from our ward and his daughter with us too. And so we were teaching this old man, and I felt like my Korean was absolutely terrible. I was like, I don't know, like, because I just couldn't speak. And somehow I taught the first lesson. We ended with prayer, and I felt the Spirit, but I didn't know like how much like he understood or like what really went on, because I kind of said things and then my members would like translate for me. And then the next week I was telling my senior companion, I'm like, we should teach the first lesson again. I was like, I'm not entirely sure if he really understood it. So we go the next week and we start teaching him the first lesson again. He stops in the middle of the lesson. He's like, "Why are you teaching this to me? Sister Watkins already taught it to me, and I already know it's true." And at that moment, I felt the power that comes from the Spirit, and that this work wasn't about me. It wasn't about my language. It wasn't about the fact that I could speak as much Korean as a 2-year-old. It was that Heavenly Father uses us as his tools to help us progress his work. And I think from that point forward, I never really, like, I studied and I worked hard on my language. But I knew that when push came to shove, and I really needed Korean, it would be there. And what I couldn't say, the Spirit could say for me. I feel like that was the most powerful lesson that I learned as a young missionary that influenced me. And it was just a miracle just to see that gift of tongues, or this gift of this man's understanding, that he was able to understand. And it was just a blessing to be there.